Governor, you have to address this. Is the euro in danger from a Bitcoin standard?
No, I'm a bit skeptical, Brian. Sorry to say it about this idea of the Bitcoin standard. We left the gold standard, but the gold was only a technical mean. What is important is what you say, Bert, that monetary policy and money is part of sovereignty. And we live in democracies, and I think the public role is key. And if we lose that, really you lose a key function of democracy. That said, I always keep repeating that money, as long as it exists for centuries, has been a public-private partnership. You need a public anchor, whatever its form is. Remember, and silver and gold were sovereign assets, so it was on the public side. And then you had banknotes, and you will have CBDC. But anyway, the most important part of payments is in the private sphere, and this is the development of tokenized private money. But this tokenized private money must be regulated to inspire trust, confidence.
It's fascinating that you say that. Brian, you mentioned a complementary role that you could play.
So I think that crypto is very good for fiat currencies. It's very good. Bitcoin is good as a check and balance on deficit spending, because when there is a lack of trust, or people, from like in a U.S. context, if people are worried about inflation, or maybe in places like Argentina or Turkey or Nigeria, they are going to flee to the thing that they believe is going to store value more. So I think in general it's going to be very complementary, and like you said, I think it comes down to trust. And so if fiat currencies can maintain trust and not have the money printer kind of debasing everybody, then they'll survive. But if countries that have bad behavior on that dimension, Bitcoin doesn't have a money printer. The supply is fixed, and people will go to it in times of uncertainty, kind of like they did with gold.
The guarantee for trust is independence on central bank side. And we have a common mandate, and we are accountable to that. But sorry to say that I trust more independent central banks with a democratic mandate than private issuers of Bitcoin, which have a very useful role. But
Bitcoin is a decentralized protocol. There's actually no issuer of it. So that's in the sense that central banks have independence. Bitcoin is even more independent. There's no country or company or individual who controls it in the world. And so anyway, I think it's a healthy competition, because if people can decide which one they trust more, and I think it's actually the greatest accountability mechanism on.
Oh, the French central bank. It's not the French central bank, it's the French.
There's a couple levels to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Brian can be a really articulate and well-spoken Bitcoiner when he chooses to be, and he can lean into Bitcoin really hard when he needs to. Maybe he just likes nihilistic gambling as well, and I mean, maybe it's profitable. I can't see how.
What do you mean by the nihilistic gambling?
So on his platform, he's got
gotcha.
Bitcoin positioned alongside other things, and notice he leaned into crypto to start, which. He started that off with crypto is good for fiat currencies, which is a very odd sentence. If you change you make it Bitcoin is good for fiat currencies, you would say, he kind of elaborates, they kind of keep them honest, I guess. I could kind of understand that if you're tethered to it, or you see it as some sort of psychological mooring, but I don't think the governments want to do that. I think that in terms of being well spoken, he's not it wasn't the deepest conversation about Bitcoin, but to be poised on that stage. And it's interesting. The other guy I thought was incredibly condescending and mocking.
Imagine that.
And
the independence of the central bank. That was a great comment. I think Brian did a good job with his explanation of Bitcoin in a very politically correct fashion. Good thing we didn't have Safedine up there. He would have fucking destroyed him. That would have been actually more fun.
But he wouldn't be invited, and that says a lot.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the French central bank has no clue, right? They obviously don't understand Bitcoin, or they don't want to admit that they understand it, and because by doing so they would empower it. So
that seems like an authentic lack of understanding.
It could have been.
Or maybe you could say they're just misusing words. Right? But saying that private issuers
Yeah, this is crazy.
You could argue though that if there was one or a few people,
I love that Brad. I like that Brad Garlinghouse is just sitting back there going like.
What? Oh, I don't think we're covering this on the show.
The
but
whole time I wanted to be like, Brad, what do you think about trust?
there's a really interesting clip floating around from Joe Squawk show,
Okay.
right? Joe Scarborough, I think it is. Not Joe Scarborough.
Squawk Box.
Squawk Box, yeah, from like 2009.
Okay.
I think it's September 9th, 2008 or 9, and they're having a conversation. But Brad is. It's announced on that show that Brad's going from Yahoo to. He's the one who wrote the. Oh man, I'm dropping this. He wrote the Project Peanut Butter Manifesto.
No idea what you're talking about.
This
is interesting though.
They're talking about how the UN needs a new global reserve currency. This is like 2009,
right?
On Squawk Box, and then it's announced that Garlinghouse is moving. It was just an interesting coincidence.
I mean,
regarding Garlinghouse,
yeah. Ripple has been trying to get in bed with the central banks for I don't know, God, how many years? Like even before or right around the same emergence of Bitcoin, and you know it's amazing how good they are at marketing, and how much traction they can get from their marketing, while simultaneously it's made them incredibly wealthy and done nothing for humanity. So.
Yeah, I think there's still people that believe that Ripple will be the global reserve currency, and that's sort of a QAnon.
There's still a ton of people that think that the token Ripple is actually being used by banks.
Right.
They think that's what they think. They think, like the price of my token is going to go up because the banks are going to use it. It's like no people.
There is
you're financing Ripple's ability to sell their services to banks. It's not going to show up in the value of your token.
Do you think anything coming out of that for-profit Ripple group, any technology has been deployed or being utilized in any way, shape?
Like, think about it. Where did that all come from? Where did all the blockchain technology come from? All the different iterations, all the different versions, right? So it's all out in the open space anyways. Anybody can copy code and duplicate it and change it and tweak it and relaunch a new chain. And so I think they're probably, the token holders of Ripple are financing Brad and his team to go around and
for their exit,
attend the World Economic Forum and mingle and rub shoulders with really wealthy people. And they probably drop bits and pieces and they get, they share some technology and things. But I mean, how does that roll downhill to the token holders?
Yeah, no, I'm not imagining that, but I'm just wondering.
That just makes it so sad that somebody that is basically fleecing token holders gets a seat there. I mean, whatever. Moving on.
All right, let's move on. Let's play the next clip.
So I'm not going to tell you that there is a red line. I'm not going to tell you that central banks will always be around either. But I think that the nature of the purpose for which debt is subscribed will matter more than the actual volume.
Speak to what you did. You just said something very intriguing.
No, I'm not going to speak more to it.
No to the idea that central banks might not always be around. What did you mean by that?
Look, I went through my lot of crises, as many of you have as well. And I remember the days when it was mentioned that, central bankers are the only game in town. This is not the right approach to a balanced and durable equilibrium. Measures have to be taken by fiscal authorities. Reforms have to be undertaken. The purpose for which spending is organized has to be thought through, and the consequences on people if we want society to stay together.
So just, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but are you basically saying that in our legislative branches around the world, we have abdicated responsibility of being fiscally prudent and thoughtful as to how we use society's resources, and have become overly reliant upon central banks to continue to try to keep the economy going in the right direction against this onslaught of reckless spending?
I'm not suggesting it's the case now, but we have observed it in the
Dude, it's so crazy to watch Christine Lagarde try and tell the truth.
Do you think she's gradually changing here, or recognizing reality, or is part of, I think, the slow rollout of all of it, and is just sort of managing her own progression through that.
So when I started to think about what she's saying there, right, the first comment that obviously caught everybody's attention is that, you know, central banks, I can't say central banks will be here forever. So when I started to think about that in the way that the world is being restructured, where you have a multipolar world that looks to be headed by the US, China, and Russia. Two of those parties aren't a part of the Western central banking system. And the third one, the United States, who still has it, is attacking the Federal Reserve through a lawsuit, through all sorts of, you know, agendas that are meant to create doubt in the viability of the central bank, right? Even if it's just from the perspective of have they ever achieved their mandates? Have they ever provided anything good, right? They're sowing question into the central bank's
seems like it
viability in the United States. I think that's for two purposes. The reason why that's being done in the United States, I think that's being done because they want to bully the central bank into playing ball with the fiscal needs of our government. So get on board, or we're going to just make you look horrible. And then the second order effect could be that if fiscal policy fails in the United States and we don't get out from under this massive debt crisis, they have a scapegoat and they can have somebody to blame it on. And so the central bank dies either way.
Right.
Either dies through co-option or dies because it becomes the scapegoat of a failed economic policy. So then that leaves you with a new world order where you basically, if you want to compete with China and Russia, you need to have a state central bank. You need to have a bank that's working hand in hand with the government, because these are existential moments of survival for these sovereigns when it comes to, you know, breaking international law to gather resources, setting up a new world order. How are we going to invest? Who's going to be the manufacturer of this for the globe? Who's going to supply the energy for the globe? Who's going to supply the AI and the chips? And right. So you see these three different entities as this multipolar world, but what's sitting at the top of it, the head of the octopus, is the financial complex that's global, which is why I'm looking at the WEF as like nothing's really changed there, just the message.
Right.
So I think what she's saying is absolutely true. I think she sees it coming, where the role of Western central banks is significantly diminished.
She used to pretend like she didn't see it coming, though,
yes.
much more angry about it and lashing out.
I think she got the message that the time is coming, and get with the program. No, that's my take.
I hear you. All right. Let's see. I'm just asking Francis who's going to play this next clip, me or him.
The kill switch clip.
No,
we're going to go on another.
I want to go back to this crazy clip from 2009 on CNBC.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. This is the peanut butter debacle?
Let's try playing it now. I'll try playing it now.
I could play it.
Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'll play it without the. We'll just hear the audio. Oh, actually.
Executive Brad. And AOL has hired former Yahoo executive Brad Garlinghouse to run the company's email group and beef up its presence in Silicon Valley. Garlinghouse might be best known for calling attention to major problems at Yahoo in a 2006 internal memo. That paper was referred to as the Peanut Butter Manifesto because it claimed the company had spread itself too thin. Since then, Yahoo has changed CEOs twice. Since leaving Yahoo last year, Garlinghouse has been an advisor at private equity firm Silver Lake Partners. And coming up, is it time to ditch the dollar? The United Nations calls for a new global currency. So could this herald the biggest overhaul of the world's monetary system since World War II? And
well, that was an interesting little find. Just it's interesting how these people pop up over and over again. And
I mean, the UN and the IMF, they've always, been hovering around this SDR issuance. They've been hovering around a global reserve currency made up of a basket of other currencies, blah, blah, blah. because they've known this time is coming.
Right.
But in the to where we are today, all that stuff is gone. All those plays are gone. They never got any traction. All those narratives never got any traction. And what's left is world superpowers deciding how they're going to divide up the world. And you're going to get to use digital currencies that are controlled by a financial infrastructure, and you'll be able to hold Bitcoin in self-custody. And if you don't have it in self-custody, you will not have any money that you control.
Right. But I think they're going to push really hard to make self-custody harder and harder.
Oh, absolutely. That's the fight. That's the most important fight in everything we're doing right now is self-custody.
And privacy around the self-custody.
100%.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah. But self-custody, I think, is step and priority number one.
Agreed.
Because the amount of people that are taking self-custody, moving coins to cold storage, are running their own nodes, supporting the network, mining, however they're participating, are giving us the future footprint and power to start to make protocol changes, layer 2 changes, layer 3s that could then provide privacy for individuals. And we're not talking about privacy for criminals and drug dealers and pedophiles. We're just talking about privacy to own your own wealth, transact with friends and family and businesses that are local, and not constantly be under surveillance.
Yeah.
Right? Just a natural right to privacy that has existed prior to the creation of technology. We just want to port that into the future. So we're not asking for everybody to be able to break the law. We want law enforcement to do law enforcement. We want law enforcement to catch the bad guys, and we want to help them do that. But at the same time, good people shouldn't have to give up their freedom and financial privacy because of a few bad actors. And I think that if humanity can work together on that front, and I think to push that effort, it starts with self-custody. It starts with a large percentage of Bitcoiners that hold a significant amount of wealth and then hold it in a self-sovereign fashion. Then that wealth will beget the changes in the law that need to happen to build the future we want to see.
So you've heard Bitcoin is the new gold rush by now. As world leaders on all sides have endorsed it as the future of money, and now you're looking to get started, we'll show you how. It's actually easier than you think. First, go to your nearest Byte Federal ATM and turn your cash to coin. Byte Federal has over 1,200 locations around the country with the highest daily limits. Go to our website, bytefederal.com, to find the nearest ATM to you. Log in to any wallet, then create an account, deposit your US cash, and instantly convert it to Bitcoin. That's it. We are the only US manufacturer and operator in the Bitcoin ATM industry, and our US-based live customer service is second to none. Go on, give it a whirl, and don't get left behind. Click the link below.